Hey everyone, Big GT fan here, back again. We're doing a review today on my uncle's XR Falcon he had. He done it all up. Beautiful car it was. It had, I think it had 206 cylinder in it. And I'll get into it and I'll explain everything in the video, so let's get into it. Alright, Uncle Pete, here you go, mate. So, it was a... So it was an XR Falcon. So he had an XT GT first. Let me get the story up. He had an XRG. He had an XR. He had an XT first. This is what he sent me. So we'll get into this. We'll go down to Pete because he big camera shy. I didn't want to be on camera. Right. He said he had a. He said that he had a 68 XT that he bought off a person in Brighton for $600. After riding off the XT, he bought another one for $50 in Walker and Ipswich. So $50 back then. No, that was good for a car. Then over the next 2 years, he done it up into an XT GT replica or mock, as we call them. We call them mock because that's what they are, mock up. So he had all the 351 and everything in it. Had got 351 off a mate in Zilmia. Painted it zircon green, and then put the gold stripes like I've got on this one. Then that one had a 221 in it at the time. And then my Uncle Normie painted that car. He actually painted that car, and then Pete put all the XT GT gear in it. Like everything was XT GT except for the 351 Cleveland. Now when the 351 Cleveland went in it, he spent 2 days trying to get this 351 Cleveland in this XT, and couldn't do it because. And he went over to my Uncle Normie's and he goes, that fucking 351's not fitting. What am I going to do? What do I do? So Uncle Normie went over there and he goes, bore one hole here and bore one hole there and it'll go straight in. So Pete did all that, put it all in, then had fun with it. But in those days, you know, he was notorious for the cops because the thing was so low. But it had the 350. The XT had the 351. Had the shaker. It had the rear spoiler. This one, like this one had the rear spoiler as well. It had I think Pete said it had 2 4.5s on the front and 2 7.5s on the arse end, with the dragways. It had the and he'd just peel them every time, and then he sold that on, and then he bought this car that I'm doing a review on now. He bought this one in Orange, New South Wales, and this one's supposed to be the predecessor to the XT. So what he did is he put the XT GT stripes on it. I'm pretty sure this one did have the XT GT interior, but it had black XR trims because the XR doors and the XT doors were different. So he didn't put the XT doors on it. He left the XR doors on it. Pretty sure it had the XR GT dash seats, but the tint was so dark in this car, like the XT. He had a mate. What he did, he had a mate that had the T35 stickers. So literally, you could mock the coppers, and they wouldn't see us. So more or less had limo tint. It had all the wheel, had all the GT wheel, everything on it. I'm pretty sure. And then I think he changed it later to a SAS wheel. Had a twin system for a 6-cylinder. It actually had a twin system and Rob Bliss exhaust over a G-bung. He actually made the XT. He bent that exhaust to actually make it sound like it had a V8 in it. So it had twin So instead of having the single, it actually had twins out of the arse end. So it had a full twin system done by Rob Bliss, and Rob Bliss is still over in G-Bung today. So Rob Bliss Exhaust, go check him out. Best person. My family knows to do exhaust, and he's still doing it today. He's been doing it since 1980. And then after Pete done all this up, and then he had all the stuff done to it. I think he had disc brakes as well, because as you see with the XRs, they had to have literally had to have a booster. They had to have a booster over here, a portable booster, a VH40 booster, because the strut tower was too narrow to get the other brake booster in behind there, in behind the master cylinder. So, and then after that, you know, he thought, well, nah, I want to go bigger. So he bought a 351 Windsor, and then I think he done all the thing. We were over there. I was 8 years old at the time, and I can still remember this, that they were trying to get it going. They're trying to get it going, but it was sort of having a problem backfiring through the carburetor when they were getting it going. So timing and whatever. But with the 351, what you got at the 351 Windsors was the cranks. The cranks was finding a good crank with the fourth and fifth journals not scalded or wrecked. You know, you had to find actually a good one, which was hard back then. You know, then he spent $2,000 on it, getting it all done and everything, and then it's maiden voyage. What he done was took it up the Bruce Highway, and it spat a leg out the side of the motor. So pissed $2,000 down the drain, and he wasn't happy. So he took it home. He took it home and he put the 6-cylinder back in it. He said, "No, V8 venture's over." But in its day, yeah, I remember this car very well, because it's from my childhood. Every time Pete would turn up in it, I'd just crawl all over it. He had the dragways on it. Yeah, it had dragways on it. That's probably the best I can do with the spoiler, because they won't give you an option for a XY GT spoiler, but it did have a XY GT spoiler on it. It's peacock green. That our Uncle Normie painted, because my Uncle Normie used to paint vintage. He used to build vintage cars and stuff, so he actually painted it for Pete. So, and then, yeah, Pete later on swapped it for, probably regrets it now, but swapped it for a Cortina. I think it was Cortina wagon. And then, yeah, went to a friend of his. I think it went to a friend of his. And last I saw it, she came down in it, and she came down to drop something off. And that was the last time I ever saw this car. And then, but I actually remember it. And then Pete chucked up a photo. So it actually had GT spotlights off of XY on here as well. It had 2 spotlights of an XY. I've got one picture. I'll put it up in the thumbnail. But yeah, Pete. Yeah, every Saturday he'd always turtle wax it, and with his other XT, he'd always turtle wax them on a Saturday. He'd painstakingly wash his car, turtle wax it, and he'd come up like this. He'd come up like $1 million. But yeah, there you go, Pete. I've done your XT justice, mate, and your XR. But yeah, that's the best I can do. But I'm not sure. But Pete said he had a different steering wheel. I think he said he had a SAS wood grain steering wheel. I don't think he had the GT steering wheel. But all the rest, other stuff, was all the GT trims and whatever else, black trims and seats. But I'm pretty sure his was auto though. His was an automatic. Wasn't a 4-speed. I'm pretty sure his was auto. But yeah. Anyway, back in its day, it was an awesome car. But anyway, let's go through this. I'll let it run through a slideshow. And yeah, but in its day, yeah, it was a good car. you know, I think my dad borrowed it. I think my dad borrowed it a couple of times too. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure Dad borrowed it a couple of times over the years. They'd swap cars and for the night or whatever, and we'd go home in Uncle Pete's XR. So that was really cool. You know, we did. Then he sold it. He sold it on, and then when I bought my XT, because I found an XT in Laidley, and we went to pick it up, and we had to tow Pete home. Funny story there. I bought it for $200, and because we couldn't get it running in the yard, because it ran, but we didn't have a battery, and we weren't going to fuck around getting it done. Well, we're towing him home, and Pete's in there, you know, fucking big smile on his face, and towing him home, and then we come around the corner, and my grandfather, he had an F100, that's what he was towing with. He jerked the XT around the corner and lost the brake line. And Pete's out the window going, no brakes. So then we're trying to pull up, and the old boy, and then Pete told Aaron, my uncle, because he was in there with him, that hold on because this might hurt, and he actually grabbed for the handbrake under the dash, and it was lucky that handbrake worked. I would have had a pretty mangled car. But that was probably, I think that was the last time he ever drove like an XR or an XT, because I let him drive it around the paddock. I'm pretty sure he drove it around the paddock when I got it running. Yeah. And my biggest regret is I didn't sell it to him. I didn't ask him first, and I was a bit cut up about that I needed the money, and I literally sold it for $50 bloody, which I should have. But anyway, you know, as I say, life goes on. But anyway, Pete, that's my review on your car, and that's my recreation. So anyway, I hope you liked it. The Big GT fan is out.